I am Captain Logan, and this is day 262 of Spawn Year. Well, it was nice while it lasted. I loved yesterday's issue and really hoped Nyx's odyssey through hell would last a while, but it seems the only true constant with this book is disappointment. When I think a story isn't working, it goes on and on and on. When I'm actually enjoying it, blink my eyes and it's over already. Last time established a strong interpersonal dynamic between Redeemer and Nyx. This fairly compelling flux Hell is going through because of Cog's neglect of his kingdom, and a solid internal conflict for Nyx as she's forced to make hard moral decisions in the name of saving a friend. I'm not complaining just because it's short, in the same way I wasn't criticizing last arc just because it was long. If it takes just 2 issues to tell a story, then that's how long it takes. But this one had real legs, and I would have loved to spend more time exploring these ideas, some of which aren't yet resolved. So to be fair, it may not have been the time to delve more into the Cagliostro scenario, and this was a natural way to just check in on Hell's status quo. I hope it isn't too long before we return to it, and based on past experience, I anticipate more uninspired filler before we get back to the juicy stuff. So although it's a bit compact for my taste, what's here isn't terrible. Redeemer explains that because Cog has locked himself away in his black tower, Hell is morphing into something different. The 9 circles are blending together, and no one knows what it will be like when it finally happens. That's a cool idea. Witnessing the birth of an essentially brand new Hell could be fascinating. But I can't help but wonder why this wasn't happening when there was no one to take Malbolge's place, if it's all about Cagliostro's inaction. It also continues to perpetuate this weird notion that the Lord of the Ninth Circle is basically Lord over all of Hell, and the other lords aren't all that important. But that's all strictly background information right now. Cagliostro doesn't appear at all, and the focus is entirely on Nyx, and what we come to discover is an entirely futile effort. By the end, this is kind of a cautionary tale about a girl in over her head, arrogantly trying to master cosmic forces far outside her realm of control or understanding. And impressively, Hogman pulls off another depressing, bleak ending that's not altogether cynical, and he does it by allowing something good and wholly unexpected to come out of it. After a typical scene in which a monster pretends to be Nyx's dead father, which serves the story in that it highlights Nyx's feelings of helplessness and not being able to save everyone she loves from hell, and also her hubris in carelessly choosing who deserves to be saved from hell and who doesn't, it never occurred to her that her dad might also be there. Nyx and Redeemer find Thea. She sadly tells Nyx, Master Wiccan, something she could have already thought of, but believably didn't, too blinded by grief, remorse, and naive hope. She has no body to return to. She isn't just in hell, she's also dead. Nyx went on a fool's errand, and for a moment it seems she betrayed Al and misled Redeemer for nothing. But with Redeemer's sword, she's able to grant Thea's heartbreaking request to end her suffering by obliterating her soul, causing her very essence to cease to exist. And with heavy heart, that's just what she does. Though it's an incredibly ethically questionable choice, I buy Nyx's decision and feel for her as she makes it, because I've lived with her as she's both literally and figuratively gone through hell. She doesn't want her friend to have to experience such unimaginable despair any longer, and not existing really seems like a better alternative. She also, I think, does it to end this vicious escalation of treachery she started. Unlike Al, time and again, Nyx has a true opportunity for change that she grabs hold of here. This whole unholy expedition was a mistake from the moment she started entertaining Maman's proposal. She doesn't trade one soul for another then, but she was dangerously close to trading Redeemer for Thea. She realized as soon as Thea reminded her that the damage for her was done already, that nothing good comes from pure evil. And several times she expresses that she feels evil the more she's here. So the Discord demon makes good on his word and gives Nyx and one other person passage out of hell, and by giving up on rescuing Thea, Nyx is able to make good on her word to Redeemer. and they both make it back to Earth in one piece. It would have seemed too easy that Nyx gets off the hook with Redeemer when her whole plan was to use him under false pretense until she found Thea, but it comes from a change of heart and not a convenient plot device. Nyx could have said damn the consequences, done some spell to preserve Thea's soul and brought her back with her, but it's clear that she's pushed too far beyond her convictions, and from a great scene where Redeemer thanks her earlier for what she's doing for him and the way she recoils at that, so sickened by the person she's letting herself turn into, we can tell she really cares about Redeemer and feels like she owes him. And she doesn't get through this scot-free either. She has to make the awful choice to destroy the soul of her best friend, and she's going to have to face Spawn, whose being she's essentially violated when he wakes up. I'm finding Nyx refreshing. Not only does she seem to learn from her mistakes and grow from them, unlike Spawn most of the time, but even in bleak situations, she maintains a sense of humor and lightens the mood a bit. She asks Redeemer to make sure she isn't eaten or crucified while she's doing it. And that brings me to a couple gripes with the plot. Why does Nyx need Redeemer if she could have done a spell to find Thea this whole time? Why doesn't she do that when she gets there? Okay, sure, protection maybe, but she specifically recruited him to help her find Thea. Also, Redeemer asks Nyx what Thea did to deserve hell. Wow, how impossible is it to keep this straight? Is it a 50-50 split, half go to heaven, half go to hell, or do actions really matter? I am sick of that being different depending on the story being told. I think it's really odd that in a book that's so often been about stereotypical male eye candy, gratuitous violence, blood and gore, half-naked women, most of the best and most likable characters in Spawn for me are women. Angela, Suture, Granny Blake, Mauve, now Nyx, and naturally they're never around very long. Perhaps there's such a thing as too much of a good thing, but I'd rather that than too much of a dull, uninspired, head-scratching thing. Signed, Captain Logan.